I want to share some advice on what to do if your athlete is not a fast athlete. We have a lot of parents that call and text every year round, and one of the main things I hear, besides the confidence, is lack of speed. I need my wrestler to be faster or more explosive. Now, I would have to see them and see their age, see their experience level. You know, sure, sometimes your athletes are slow just because they are not very well versed. You know, you can play chords on a guitar wicked fast if you've been playing for 5 or 6 or 8 years, 2 hours a day. But if you're new to the guitar, or you play, you know, maybe you're a youth wrestler who practices 1.5 hours twice a week for 12 weeks a year, and then you don't wrestle again for 40 weeks, you're never going to be fast. So, you know, sort of we have to look at that. But a big part of, I think it's just wrong effort. Don't try to wrestle fast. You don't have to be fast to be a great wrestler. Now, sure, technique speed can come with drill time, and that comes from focusing your effort on the core techniques of wrestling, right? So like in our academy, we have right around 35 techniques. That's the bottom of the pyramid, the bottom of the foundation. Wrestling 101. Then in our elite room, we add another like 22 techniques. So now we're at about 55, right? And that's Wrestling 101 and 202. Then you start getting to our world-class wrestler program. Then we go into Wrestling 303, Wrestling 404, and a lot of individualized stuff. So it's like a pyramid, right? But you want to master the core techniques of wrestling, because that way when they're there, and they're always going to be because they're common to every wrestling match, the positions you're in certain matches are common. Think about a double play. You can't be a great baseball team unless you have a great double play. It's a common position. You can't be a great basketball team unless you have a great free throw team. That's a common position. Soccer, corner kicks, that's very common, right? You can practice a three-point shooting if you're an NFL coach, or sorry, an NBA coach, and you're practicing three-point shooting all the time, or half-court shooting rather, not three-point shooting, half-court shooting at the buzzer beater shots. You're like, we're going to spend an hour a day practicing buzzer beater shots, and you ignore the free throw line. Well, then you're just stupid, right? And your team's going to suck because you're ignoring the core positions. And wrestling has a lot of, well, not a lot, but a handful of core positions. Ear-to-ear collar tie. That's common in kids wrestling, even somewhat in high school. Collar ties, your opponent's going to grab your neck. Even in college, right? 20% of the guys wrestle out of a collar tie, I would say. Maybe a little less. In high school, everybody wrestles in a collar tie. Without exaggeration, someone's going to grab your neck with a collar tie 13 to 20 times a match, times 50 matches this year. 637 times this year, someone's going to grab your neck with a collar tie. That's a common position, right? So when I talk about our Wrestling 101, 202, that we're spending all of our time in our common positions, and then picking, let's say, I know 13 ways to score from a front headlock. Give me the best 2. Make me drill that, and I'm not exaggerating, 3,000 times this season. Then you get into our elite program. We have the best 5 ways to score, including those first 2. We add 3 more, right? So speed a lot of times comes down to you have to master the core techniques of wrestling, and then the speed will come, just like turning a double play or playing chords on a guitar can come quickly, right? And efficient too. Just like a free throw, your efficiency from the free throw line gets better too. A lot of times lack of speed comes from apprehension. You're apprehensive because, you know, you're not so sure that when you do the back off, you know, the round off backflip off the balance beam, you're not sure you're going to stick the landing. Whereas a level 10 gymnast is not that worried about it because she knows she knows she has a very good chance. So the rest of us would be very apprehensive on a balance beam, right? I'd be apprehensive from the free throw line. I'd be apprehensive trying to turn a double play. I'd be apprehensive everywhere but on a wrestling mat. And you might be apprehensive from the core techniques of wrestling and the core positions of wrestling. You're never going to win if you're apprehensive from there. So part of your inability to have a fast wrestler might be apprehensiveness because they're not skilled in the core techniques from the common positions of wrestling. Okay, part of it could also be, you know, maybe they don't even know. What you don't know, and that's killing you, and you don't even know it right? You're just looking around. Why is this so hard? Well, it's because I'm like, well, Harry, that's why. A, B, C, D, E, F. That's why. Fix that, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I walk away, I drink a cup of coffee. It's not a big deal, right? But you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know, and your kids don't know what they don't know. So sometimes it's not even apprehensiveness about the core techniques from the common positions of wrestling. You don't even know you never thought about the common positions. No one's ever said that. All your coaches probably do is say, let's learn some new wrestling moves, and then we're going to wrestle, and then we're going to go run the bleachers, right? Or whatever. Do some push-ups. Then we'll play a game, right? Even high school, they're playing games after practice sometimes. But if you start to organize the sport of wrestling so that you can say, I need to have reproducible results. Our kids have to win or I don't have a job. This 2018, Halloween's Wednesday. This Thursday marks the 20th year I've been in the wrestling business full time, right? That's all I've done. I figured up I've coached on the wrestling mat 13,000, almost 500 hours. Over 13,000 hours of coaching. That doesn't include the 4 years that I was a high school coach. That doesn't include tournaments. That's just training kids on a wrestling match with a whistle and a stopwatch as a coach, putting workers to work, right? So I've got a lot of experience here. Got a wasp on me. He's gone now. But as far as speed, think about those two things. Now, thirdly, once you have the foundation built, you're like, dude, we know all that. My kid's still not fast. Well, don't try to force him to be fast. Dave Schultz, they make movies about him, right? He was an Olympic champion. He wasn't a really fast wrestler. You can look at Jake Varner. He was an Olympic champion. He's a big guy, but they're still really fast big guys. I mean, I see him on football all the time, right? On the weekends. These dudes are fast. He wasn't that fast. He was an Olympic champion. He's a great athlete. But you don't have to be fast. I know Kendall Cross was my teammate in college. He was an Olympic champion too. He says, I learned how to wrestle. I developed a style of wrestling that worked for me because I don't have one fast twitch muscle in my body. I'm not fast. He's an Olympic champion, and he won the NCAA title as a junior, right? And I thought that was very interesting because he said he got shunned sometimes, and all of his coaches were like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to be more explosive, and he couldn't do it. And he's like, I can't do that, right? And so he said, he kind of felt bad just getting kind of shunned by all these coaches, and all these other middle school kids were getting like patted on the back. The coaches worshiped them because they were, they could probably run the football for 1,000+ yards every season in middle school, and they were the hot shots. And Kendall's like, dude, I can't do that, right? And the coaches were like, you have to wrestle fast. So if you have the other pieces of the puzzle intact, maybe you're just trying to make an apple tree grow pears. My son wasn't fast because he was quick with short explosive setups, right? Short explosive setups, that's the key. And from the common tie-ups in wrestling, mostly his common tie-ups, he found out you could score from other people's tie-ups, but I want to learn to live in my tie-ups. Don't wrestle from the outside. When your opponent goes outside and tries to score, put your hand on the mat in a football position, walk in slowly, make contact, wrestle there. If they get back outside, get back in a 3-point football stance. Do not allow your opponents to wrestle where you don't want to wrestle. That's a big part of wrestling too. We can make another video about that when you start individualizing your wrestling programs, and we do this at our 28-day camp. We take our athletes and we help them individualize their own wrestling their wrestling style by diagnosing strengths and weaknesses. What weaknesses can you have? What can't you have? If you suck from the free throw line, you can't have that weakness as a basketball player. All right? If you suck from a sprawl and you have a terrible stance and you can't down block, you can't hold a strong, powerful arms on bottom, you can't have those weaknesses. We have to fix those, right? And we do that too. But what weaknesses can you have? I'm short. I'm 5'5" on a tall day. I'll never have leverage. That's okay. I'm not going to wrestle in the positions and drill the techniques that requires someone to be really fast. You know, I'm not going to have an inside tie ankle pick. I can't. I'm sure it's not going to happen. But I can have underhook ankle pick, which I used to have a great one. You know, you diagnose these positions. So there's my advice on why your athlete isn't fast, some insight. Mostly, don't worry about it. Once you get the drill time and the expert training and coaching, don't worry about it. Just don't wrestle fast. There's many Olympic champions. You can watch them. Watch the college nationals. Watch all the slow poke wrestlers out there win NCAA titles because they figured it out. And sometimes you just have to say, this is where I'm at. What do I do now? Okay? A good example would be the football linemen. They're great athletes. Now, if you try to make them sprint around the track against the linebacker or the running back, they're not going to win. And the running back says, you suck. You're not a good athlete like me. And he's like, okay, fast guy, let's go to the weight room. Let me see you squat 1,600 pounds. He goes, I can't do that. So, I'm a better athlete than you. You're a better athlete over there. I'm a better athlete over here. That's the reason in football, they don't put the lineman at running back. They don't put the running back on the line. That would be stupid. So in wrestling, don't try to put your athlete into positions where they can't have success because it's just not going to work. So good advice for you. Check us out at purlerwrestling.com. Good luck this season.